The storm had rolled in like an angry tide, swallowing the city in sheets of cold, merciless rain. The streets, usually alive with hurried footsteps and neon lights, had emptied into silence, leaving only the restless hiss of water hitting the pavement. In that silence, broken only by the low rumble of thunder, he saw her. A fragile figure hunched against the stone wall of a closed bakery, her small frame shaking as if every drop of rain carried its own cruelty. She clutched her knees to her chest, her thin dress plastered to her skin, and in the faint glow of the street lamp, he saw her wheelchair toppled a few feet away, its single wheel still spinning in the storm's wind. The world might have passed her by as just another shadow, but not him. Something inside him cracked wide open. She wasn't just a child abandoned to the storm, she was a cry the universe itself had thrown into his path. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in stories that remind us of the goodness still left in humanity, please take a moment right now to like this video, subscribe to our channel, Gentle Hearts, and share this story with someone who might need it today. Your support helps us continue telling stories that touch the soul. Ethan Cross had never expected to stop on that street. A man like him, wealthy, decisive, and always on the move, rarely slowed for anything. He was a single father whose life was a careful rhythm of business meetings, charity events, and tucking his son into bed at night, trying to prove to the boy that one parent could be enough. But that night, something stronger than reason pulled him toward the girl shivering in the storm. He walked toward her, his leather shoes sinking in puddles, his heart heavier with each step. She lifted her head when she heard him approach, her tear-streaked face startling him with how small and breakable she seemed. Her lips trembled, but no words came, only fear and confusion painted across her expression. Ethan bent down, retrieving the fallen wheelchair, and with a gentleness that didn't match the harsh edges of his usual life, he righted it and offered his hand. The rain poured between them like a veil, but when he whispered softly, "Come with me," she reached for him, as though some part of her still believed the world could hold kindness. He wheeled her toward his car, draping his coat around her shoulders, each movement awakening emotions he had buried long ago. His own son, Jacob, was only 10, full of questions about the world, about why his mother had left and why kindness often seemed like a rare currency in their city. Ethan thought of Jacob as he helped the girl into the car, her fragile body curling into the seat like a wounded bird. For a moment, he hesitated. Was he prepared for what this meant? For the weight of someone else's brokenness? But then she looked at him again, her eyes dark pools of pain and pleading, and he knew there was no choice. The drive home was quiet except for the rain pelting against the windows. Ethan kept glancing at her, seeing the bruises along her arms, the way she flinched at sudden sounds, the way exhaustion finally dragged her into an uneasy sleep. When they arrived at his home, a warm mansion of glass and stone perched on the hill above the city, he carried her inside, her tiny hands gripping his shirt as though she feared he might let her fall. Jacob came running down the stairs, his excitement at hearing his father's return freezing into silence when he saw the soaked, trembling girl in Ethan's arms. But children see truths adults often miss. Without question, Jacob reached for a blanket and spread it gently over her as Ethan laid her on the couch. In the days that followed, the girl, whose name was Lily, began to reveal fragments of her story. She had been living in a foster home where neglect had been a daily routine, kindness an illusion. When she became disabled after an accident no one cared enough to explain to her, she had been pushed further into the shadows, left to fend for herself in a world already too heavy for her fragile body. That night in the rain, she had fled, believing even loneliness on the streets was safer than the cruelty behind closed doors. Listening to her speak, Ethan felt something deep and raw stir in his chest. He had built his empire on resilience and determination, yet here was a child who had fought battles far greater than anything he had known, and all she wanted was a place to belong. It wasn't easy. At first, Lily resisted warmth, flinched at sudden movements, and refused to believe she wasn't just a temporary guest waiting to be discarded again. Nights were the hardest. Ethan would hear her muffled sobs echoing through the halls, the sound slicing through him like broken glass. But Jacob, with the innocence of his heart, began to weave threads of trust around her. He would sit beside her during meals, place silly drawings on her pillow, and whisper, "You're safe here." Slowly, Ethan watched the walls around Lily crack, watched light return to her eyes in fleeting moments when she laughed at Jacob's jokes or let him push her wheelchair through the garden. For Ethan, this unexpected turn began to reshape his own soul. He found himself pausing more often, learning to listen, to be patient, to let gentleness guide his choices. His business partners noticed the change, less sharp edges, more compassion. His son noticed it too, as Ethan no longer seemed just a provider, but a man rediscovering the essence of family. And for Lily, the mansion became more than a house, it became the first place she had ever felt she might belong. Yet the past has a way of clawing back. One evening, as autumn winds rattled the windows, the foster system knocked on Ethan's door. They demanded Lily's return, citing laws and procedures, blind to the scars she carried and the fragile healing she had just begun. Lily overheard, and for the first time since that rainy night, Ethan saw her break, not with quiet tears but with desperate panic. She clung to Jacob, her sobs shaking her thin frame as she whispered, "Please don't let them take me." Ethan's heart thundered in his chest. He had the power, the resources, but what he needed was more than money. It was courage, the courage to fight not for his empire, but for a child's right to safety and love. The battle was long, courtrooms, questions, doubts, but Ethan never wavered. He brought witnesses, doctors, even Jacob's words about how Lily had become his sister in every way that mattered. He laid bare his soul before strangers in black robes, telling them that sometimes family isn't about blood but about who shows up when the rain falls hardest. And in the end, against odds that seemed impossible, Ethan won. The papers were signed. Lily was no longer a child adrift in the system, she was home. That night, as the first snow of winter fell outside, Ethan tucked both Jacob and Lily into bed, their laughter echoing through the house like music. He stood at the doorway, his heart full, realizing that wealth wasn't measured by the numbers in his bank account but by the lives he had chosen to love. Lily, once a broken girl crying in the rain, was now a daughter with dreams, with safety, with hope. And Ethan, once a man who believed he had lost too much, had found a family bigger and stronger than anything he had dared to imagine. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness can change destinies and love can heal the deepest wounds, please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel, Gentle Hearts. Your support means we can keep bringing you stories that inspire hope and humanity. Speech balloon special request before you go. Comment below with one word, kindness, if you believe that even the smallest act of love can change a life forever.